Hey, what's up? My name is Alex, and welcome to English Rewind, Reading and Listening Comprehension. Today, we're going to look at Knock at the Door. It's a very short piece, but let's get into it. Knock at the Door. It's from English Rewind newsletter number 18. Basic English. A knock at the door woke me from my sleep. A few seconds later, I heard another knock. I then also heard a voice. It called my name. Who could be looking for me this late at night? Wanting to know, I went to the door and opened it. I wonder what's going on. So, advanced English. A knock at the door roused me from my sleep. It took me a few seconds to find my bearings. A few moments later, I heard another knock. This time, it was followed by a voice. The voice sounded desperate. It called my name. Who could it be at this hour? Wanting to know, I hesitantly approached the door and began opening it. It sounds like the start of a horror or some kind of scary story or movie. Let's look at the few keywords, phrases, and expressions used here to knock. So knock means to hit or strike. We saw knock being used at a knock at the door roused me from my sleep, or a knock at the door woke me from my sleep. So when someone knocks, this is knocking. They doof, 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 doof at the door. That's to knock at the door. But knock also means to hit or strike. So I was knocked off my bicycle, which means something hit me and I fell off my bicycle. So maybe I was on my bicycle and something hit me. It knocked me off of my bicycle. I heard a knock at the door, which was in what we just read now. Someone knocks at the door. I'm going to knock your teeth out. It's a very aggressive expression. It sounds like you're about to fight someone, but knock someone's teeth out means I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to knock your teeth out. So I'm going to punch you in the face. That's what it means. So knock is to hit or strike. Okay. Roused. To wake up or to come alive. We saw that in the first sentence. A knock at the door roused me from my sleep. That means that the knock at the door woke me up. It roused me from my sleep. It woke me up because it means to wake up. So, do not rouse the monster from its sleep. That's a very fancy way of saying don't wake up the monster. Or your question roused my curiosity. So, that means your question made me curious, because when you rouse something, it's kind of like you're causing it to wake up, but you're also causing it to come alive. So suddenly it's there, it's coming alive, it presents itself, it wakes up. So your question roused my curiosity, or your question roused my anger, something like that. So it made me curious, or it made me angry. Bearing. We saw bearing after he woke up from the knock at the door. It says, it took me a few seconds to find my bearings. Now that's an expression. But bearing means the direction you're facing, the direction you're moving, your position. So the word bearing basically has to do with where you're looking, what direction you're facing and looking at. It has to do with direction. Okay. So when you say find your bearings, that means to find your exact position. That means to find out where you are. To find your bearings means to find out where you are. So in the example sentence, the blind man couldn't find his bearings. So that means he didn't know where he was, basically. Because we saw that in the example sentence, in the sentence as well. After waking up from his sleep, because there was a knock at the door. It says, so he just woke up. He's like, huh? What's going on? And then it says, it took me a few seconds to find my bearings because he had just woken up. So he's kind of confused still. He's still kind of asleep. So he's trying to find his bearings. He's trying to find out where am I? Obviously, he's in his room. So he's trying to find his bearings. Lose your bearings. Once again, it's the same kind of expression. Lose your bearings means to not know where you are. So find your bearings means trying to find out where you are. Whereas lose your bearings means to not know where you are. So they lost their bearings in the dark. It was dark outside. They couldn't see anything. They didn't know where they were. So they lost their bearing. They didn't know where they are because of the dark. Yeah. Desperation. We saw it here with the voice sounded desperate. So someone was knocking at the door. There was also a voice, and the voice sounded desperate. We covered desperate in newsletter 12 and 17, but desperate kind of means very serious, very anxious. So a desperate voice. At this hour, which means this time of the day, and it's usually late at night when using that expression. So he said, it called my name, who could it be? And at this hour. So that means that someone was outside his door late at night, at this hour. So it might be 2 or 3 in the morning. Who could be here at this hour, this late at night? Who would be calling me at this hour? So your phone rings and it's late at night and you're thinking, who could be calling me at this hour? And at this hour, like I said, is usually late at night. Hesitantly, which means carefully or not being sure. So we saw it here with wanting to know. I hesitantly approached the door and began opening it. So he wants to know who's knocking at the door. So he hesitantly approaches the door. Hesitantly means carefully, because you're not very sure. You're not certain what's on the other side of the door. You hesitantly, carefully approach the door. I hesitantly peeped around the corner. So I carefully looked around the corner. I carefully looked, hesitantly, like carefully. I was hesitant to ask him for help. So I wasn't sure if I should ask him. So hesitant. If you're hesitant to ask someone for help, then it means you're very careful about doing it. You're not sure if you should do it. So once again, I hesitantly approached the door means I carefully approached the door. I wasn't sure if I should go to the door. Maybe something dangerous is waiting there. I hesitantly, carefully, slowly, not being certain or sure, approached the door. And then approach, which we covered in newsletter 7. But approach means to draw near to something, to go closer to something. To approach means to go close to. So I approached the door. I went close to the door. I went to the door. Okay. Let's look at this one more time. A knock at the door roused me from my sleep. So the man was sleeping in his bed, and then he heard someone knock at the door, and that woke him from his sleep. So he's awake now. But it says, it took me a few seconds to find my bearings. So he just woke up. So he's kind of confused and not sure where he is. But then after a while, he finds his bearings, and then he realizes, I'm in my room. A few moments later, I heard another knock. So there's another knock, doof, 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 at the door. This time, it was followed by a voice. So now not only is there a knock at the door, but someone's calling him. It's followed by a voice. So someone's like, hello, is someone there? Doof, 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 doof. The voice sounded desperate. So, hello, help me. Desperate, serious. It called my name. So It called my name. It is the voice now. So there's a voice on the other side of the door that called the person's name. It called my name. So it's knocking. Hello, John, John, John. It's desperate. John, John. It's desperate. It's knocking. You hear the voice, and it's calling. So the person's name is John, perhaps. But now you're wondering, who could it be? Who's on the other side of the door? And at this hour, this late at night, who's this? Who's knocking at my door at 1 a.m? So wanting to know, I hesitantly, I carefully, not being sure who it is, I got up, I went close to the door, I approached the door and began opening it. So then we'll find out who's on the other side of the door. Okay, that was it for English Rewind, listening and reading comprehension. Knock at the door. I hope it was useful. I hope it was helpful. And until next time, cheers.